In the distant future, there exists a being known as the God Emperor of mankind, whose name resonates across countless worlds. He is the supreme ruler of the Imperium of Man, the Father, Guardian, and God of all humanity. For 10,000 years, he has sat immobile upon the golden throne of Terra. His body, shattered and broken, is sustained only by ancient technology and the soul sacrifice of countless psykers. His will, immensely powerful, extends across the million worlds that make up his Imperium. The Emperor's existence is crucial to the survival of humanity. He not only guides the future through the Emperor's tarot, soul-bind psykers, holds audiences with his most important servants, and directs the astronomical beacon that guides space vessels through the warp. His immense psychic powers constantly repel the chaos gods in the warp, protecting his people throughout the galaxy. Since his ascension to the Golden Throne, the Emperor has become a god to his people. The worship of him unites humanity across the Imperium, with superstition and dogma replacing his original doctrine of imperial truth. Despite this, he remains the anathema to the daemon kind, the ultimate guardian of mankind. Welcome to Imperium Archive. Here we will take you deep into the vast and intricate universe of Warhammer 40,000. We provide detailed lore explorations, battle tactic analyses, and profiles of key characters. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a newcomer, there's something here for everyone. Thank you for your support. Let's embark on this adventure together. In the remote stretches of Earth's ancient history, a child was born under mystical circumstances in a proto-Hittite village beside the Sakarya River. This was no ordinary child. He was the culmination of an extraordinary psychic pact. The shamans, Earth's most powerful psykers, foreseeing the rise of chaos in the warp, chose to end their lives in a collective ritual. Their deaths were not in vain, as their merged souls birthed a new being destined to be the protector of mankind, the future Emperor. From his earliest days, the boy exhibited signs of his extraordinary origin, showing an innate command over psychic energies. This power was both a blessing and a burden, setting him apart from those around him. His early life was marked by a tragic event that defined his path, the murder of his father. Witnessing this through a precognitive vision, he realized the depths of human cruelty and the potential of his own powers. In a moment of grim resolution, he exacted justice on his murderous uncle with nothing but a thought, an act that sealed his fate as humanity's guardian. After leaving his village, he ventured towards Sumeria, the cradle of civilization, where he began to influence humanity's development from the shadows. Known among a circle of trusted followers as Neoth, he assumed various roles through the ages, each persona crafted to guide and protect the growing spread of human societies. Whether as a ruler, warrior, or sage, he subtly steered the course of human events. His journey was solitary and laden with the weight of preordained purpose. Despite possessing power that could shape destinies, he was haunted by a profound sense of duty and isolation. His love for humanity drove him, yet it was paired with a deep melancholy for the frailties he sought to mend. This dual nature, both protector and distant overseer, defined his existence through the millennia. As he shaped the early foundations of what would become his empire, he prepared for a future where humanity stood united against the forces of chaos. Each life he touched, each decision he made, was a deliberate action towards this vision. These early years set the stage for his later rise as the Emperor, a figure destined to lead humanity through its most triumphant and tragic chapters. As he built his empire among the stars, his heart bore the burden of inevitable betrayals and the sacrifices required to fulfill his dream of mankind's destiny. a destiny wrought with glory and shadowed by sorrow. As the millennia rolled on, this earth bore witness to a landscape marred by strife and fragmentation. It was during this tumultuous period, known as the Age of Strife, that the figure once known as Neoth would step forth under his destined title, the Emperor of Mankind. He emerged not merely as a leader but as a visionary destined to forge a new path for humanity amidst the chaos of warring factions and psychic turmoil. The Earth was divided, its peoples isolated by vast psychic storms that rendered interstellar travel and communication nigh impossible. It was a dark era where warlords ruled with an iron fist, and technological marvels of the past lay forgotten, buried under the rubble of relentless conflict. Amidst this disarray, the Emperor saw not despair, but opportunity, an opportunity to unite Terra under a single banner and to build a foundation strong enough to support his grand vision for humanity's future. With unmatched strategic acumen and a deep understanding of human nature, the Emperor began his conquest of Terra. He did not seek power for power's sake, but pursued a unity that was essential for survival against the greater cosmic threats lurking beyond Earth's sight. Each battle was carefully chosen, each alliance meticulously crafted. He rallied under his banner not just armies, but the very spirit of humanity, offering a vision of unity and strength in a time of division and weakness. His charisma was palpable, and his presence was commanding. To his followers, he was a beacon of hope, a titan striding across the battlefields with the aura of a being more than human. His Thunder Warriors, predecessors to the later Space Marines, were unstoppable under his command, their loyalty to him unshakable. Together, they reclaimed Terra, city by city, from the grips of rogue warlords and psychic despots, each victory bringing them closer to a unified Earth. But the Emperor's campaign was not merely one of conquest, it was also one of enlightenment. Amidst the ashes of old Earth, he laid the philosophical foundations of the Imperium of Man. He preached the imperial truth, an ideology that promoted science, reason, and human potential, rejecting the superstitions that had taken root during the Age of Strife. This new doctrine was not only a set of beliefs, but a promise of a broader, more enlightened existence beyond the stars. As Terra was unified under his rule, the Emperor's eyes turned skyward. The Great Crusade loomed on the horizon, a massive expansionist campaign aimed at bringing the scattered human colonies back under a single, enlightened rule. The Emperor knew that the fractured human worlds needed him, that without his intervention they would fall prey to alien dominations or worse, the insidious spread of chaos. The conclusion of the Unification Wars marked not an end, but the beginning of a larger saga. The Emperor had created not just a planetary government, but a stellar empire in the making. His dream of a united humanity stood on the brink of becoming a reality, poised to reclaim its rightful place among the stars. Yet, even as he prepared for the next phase of his grand design, the shadows of future betrayals began to gather, threatening the fragile unity he had fought so hard to achieve. The stage was set for the Great Crusade, an undertaking as daunting as it was essential, driven by the Emperor's indomitable will and his unyielding love for the human race. With Terra unified under his indomitable rule, the Emperor of Mankind prepared to embark on his most ambitious endeavor, the Great Crusade. This was a galactic campaign of unprecedented scale, aimed at reuniting humanity's scattered colonies across the cosmos. The galaxy, vast and full of peril, housed countless human settlements that had been isolated by the Age of Strife, many of which had diverged significantly from their origins, fallen under alien dominations, or succumbed to the corrupting influences of the warp. The Emperor, with his unyielding vision for humanity's future, recognized that the survival of the human race depended on more than just terrestrial unity. It required a galactic imperium, a universal order under which all of human civilization could be protected and guided. To achieve this monumental task, he created the Legiones Astartes, the Space Marines. These warriors were more than soldiers. They were genetically engineered demigods, each crafted to embody the pinnacle of human potential and martial prowess. The Space Marines, organized into legions, each led by one of the Emperor's own genetically engineered sons, the Primarchs became the spearhead of the Great Crusade. These legions, diverse in their tactics and heraldry, were united by a singular purpose: to bring all human worlds under the Emperor's benevolent dominion. As these legions ventured into the void, they encountered worlds that had devolved into barbarism, planets under the thrall of Xenos overlords, and civilizations that had altogether lost the light of reason. The Crusade was not merely a military campaign. It was also a mission of enlightenment. The Emperor's forces sought to liberate humanity from superstition, oppression, and fear. They brought with them the imperial truth, a doctrine that espoused reason, science, and rejection of the irrational, principles intended to usher in a new age of enlightenment across the galaxy. As the legions reclaimed world after world, the Emperor's dream of a united human empire began to materialize. However, the vastness of space also meant that the Crusade was an endeavor fraught with challenges. The Primarchs, though mighty, were not immune to the flaws of ambition, pride, and in some tragic cases, betrayal. The Emperor, while a godlike figure to many, faced the monumental task of maintaining unity and purpose among his diverse and far-flung forces. The Great Crusade would last for nearly 2 centuries, a period marked by both glorious conquests and heartbreaking setbacks. It was a time when the stars themselves bore witness to the might of the Imperium, as well as to the seeds of dissent that began to take root within it. As worlds were brought into compliance and the shadows of old enemies retreated, new shadows began to form within the ranks of the Crusade itself. This chapter of cosmic conquest laid the foundations for what was to become the golden age of the Imperium, a beacon of light in a dark universe. Yet, even as the Emperor's legions forged onwards, the dark undercurrents of fate were silently converging, setting the stage for the greatest tragedy that humanity would ever witness. The Great Crusade, for all its triumphs, was but a prelude to the storm that loomed on the horizon, a storm that would test the very fabric of the Imperium and its undying lord. As the Great Crusade reached the zenith of its power and influence, the seeds of betrayal were already sown, and the mighty Imperium stood on the brink of its most catastrophic conflict. The Horus Heresy, named after its central traitor, would come to define an era of unparalleled strife and devastation. This was not merely a rebellion, it was a fratricidal war that would tear the galaxy apart, pitting brother against brother, legion against legion. Horus, once the Emperor's most trusted and beloved son, and the appointed war master of the Great Crusade, succumbed to the dark whispers of chaos. The ruinous powers, ever envious and fearful of the Emperor's dominion, saw in Horus a potent instrument of destruction. They seduced him with visions of power and promises of a universe where he reigned supreme, free from his father's shadow. The seeds of doubt and pride, sown deep within Horus's soul, took root, and he turned against the very empire he had helped to build. The betrayal began subtly at first, with Horus manipulating the loyalties of his fellow Primarchs and their legions, spreading dissent across the ranks. His charisma and authority were such that many were drawn to his cause without fully understanding his true intentions. As the schism grew, so did the scale of the conflict. Entire systems were dragged into the maelstrom of war, forced to choose sides in a conflict that mirrored the cosmic battle between order and chaos. The turning point came with the massacre at Istvan Thrud, where Horus openly declared his rebellion. He purged his ranks of those still loyal to the Emperor, in a brutal and bloody betrayal that would be forever remembered as one of the darkest days in Imperial history. The shockwaves of this act reverberated across the galaxy, galvanizing those still loyal to the Emperor into action. The Emperor, once a distant ruler, now found himself directly involved in the civil war to save his Imperium. He gathered his loyal sons and their legions, preparing for the inevitable confrontation with Horus. The stage was set for battles that would see the devastation of entire worlds, the decimation of populations, and the desecration of sacred sites. The war was not just fought with weapons, but with hearts and minds, as both sides sought to sway the uncommitted to their cause. The conflict culminated in the siege of Terra, the heart of the Imperium itself. Here, the forces of Horus laid siege to the Imperial Palace, a fortress manned by the Emperor's most loyal warriors. The siege was brutal and prolonged, with the defenders pushed to their limits as they held back the tide of traitors. Horus, growing desperate and impatient, sought to end the war by challenging his father to a personal duel, hoping to crush the Imperium spirit by slaying its immortal leader. The final confrontation between Horus and the Emperor took place aboard the War Master's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. It was a battle not only of physical might, but of spiritual endurance. The Emperor, weakened by the efforts to maintain the web of humanity's survival and seeing the depths of corruption his son had fallen to, was forced to make a tragic decision. In the end, it was with a heavy heart and a sorrowful fury that he struck down Horus, ending the life of his once greatest son to save the remnants of his dream. The Horus Heresy reshaped the galaxy. It marked the end of the Emperor's vision of a unified and enlightened human civilization, leading instead to an era of suspicion, militarization, and endless war. The Emperor, mortally wounded and broken, was interred within the Golden Throne, a life-sustaining apparatus that now serves as both his prison and the linchpin of the Imperium's survival. This dark chapter, while a tale of betrayal and loss, is also a testament to the resilience and enduring spirit of humanity under the aegis of their undying Emperor. The Siege of Terra was not just a battle, but a cataclysmic event that would define the enduring legacy of the Emperor and his Imperium. As the traitor forces of Horus laid waste to system after system, their path of destruction led inexorably to Terra, the cradle of humanity and the heart of the Imperium. The planet braced for the onslaught, transforming overnight from a center of enlightenment into a fortress besieged by its own kind. The skies above Terra darkened with the ships of the traitor legions, a grim spectacle witnessed by the terrified citizens below. The air was thick with the roar of engines and the clamor of bombardment, heralding a siege that would last many months. The Imperial Palace, a vast complex of fortifications and sacred halls, became the last stand against the forces of betrayal and chaos. Inside the palace, the defenders, led by the Emperor's remaining loyal Primarchs and their Space Marine legions, prepared for the inevitable. They were outnumbered but not outmatched in spirit or resolve. Every corridor and hall became a potential battleground, every gateway and tower a crucial point to defend. The palace became a maze of bloodshed and heroism, echoing with the sounds of battle and the cries of the fallen. Horus, driven by a maelstrom of ambition and corruption, unleashed the full might of his forces. The siege was brutal and unforgiving, with the defenders pushed to their limits as they repelled wave after wave of attackers. Despite the chaos, the strategic genius of the Emperor's loyal sons shone through, orchestrating counterattacks and defenses that held the line against seemingly impossible odds. Amidst the chaos, the Emperor himself remained within the deepest sanctum of the palace, his focus divided between sustaining the psychic barrier that protected Terra from demonic invasion and directing his forces. The weight of the Imperium rested on his shoulders, a burden he bore with a stoic resolve, even as his physical form began to show signs of strain. As the siege dragged on, the cost in lives and resources mounted. The defenders of Terra witnessed acts of unthinkable sacrifice and valor. Heroes rose from the ranks, their deeds becoming the stuff of legend, recounted in whispers and tales that would outlive the siege itself. The culmination of the siege came when Horus, in a gambit to end the stalemate, lowered the shields of his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit, daring the Emperor to face him in personal combat. It was a challenge the Emperor could not refuse. Accompanied by a small retinue of his most elite warriors, he teleported aboard the Vengeful Spirit for a confrontation that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The battle aboard the Vengeful Spirit was apocalyptic. The Emperor confronted Horus, not just as a father to a wayward son, but as a ruler facing the avatar of his greatest failure. The duel was fierce and heart-wrenching, a clash of titanic forces in the shadowed corridors of the traitor flagship. In the end, the Emperor emerged victorious, but at a grievous cost. His body was broken, his life force nearly extinguished by the very powers he had wielded to secure humanity's future. The siege of Terra left the Imperium scarred but unbroken. Its aftermath would see the transformation of the Emperor from ruler to martyr, his undying form entombed within the Golden Throne. Forever watching over the Empire, he sacrificed everything to protect. The echoes of the siege still resonate through the Imperium, a reminder of the cost of survival and the price of eternal vigilance. In the aftermath of the Horus Heresy, the Imperium of Man lay in tatters, its unity fractured and its populace wearied by war. The once invincible Emperor, now grievously wounded in the duel with his traitorous son Horus, was brought to the brink of death. The saviors of the Imperium faced an unthinkable decision as they carried their broken ruler back to the heart of Terra. Their leader, their beacon of hope, could no longer rule as he once had. His physical form was all but destroyed, and only his immense psychic power clung to life, tethered by sheer will and the life-sustaining technologies of the Golden Throne. The Golden Throne, a marvel of ancient technology and psychic engineering, was originally intended as a tool to aid the Emperor in his grand project to navigate and stabilize the human-constructed webway. Now it became his sarcophagus and throne, a device to preserve his life force and maintain his psychic vigil over humanity. As the Emperor was interred within this arcane machinery, the very essence of his being was altered. No longer merely a man or a ruler, he transcended into a state of semi-divine stasis, his consciousness bound to the eternal duty of guiding and protecting the Imperium from the warp. The ascension of the Emperor to the Golden Throne marked a new era for the Imperium. It was an era defined by the paradox of his presence and absence. Physically immobile and silent, he yet exerted immense influence through his psychic might. The Astronomicon, the psychic beacon emitted by the throne, continued to light the way through the warp for the Imperial ships, an essential guide in the darkness of space. This beacon, however, came at a dire cost. The throne required the daily sacrifice of thousands of psychers whose souls were consumed to fuel its arcane mechanisms and sustain the Emperor's fading life force. As the Emperor's direct influence waned, the governance of the Imperium fell to the High Lords of Terra, a council formed to interpret his will and administer the Empire in his stead. This shift in power dynamics led to political machinations and struggles that would shape the future of the Imperium. The High Lords, while powerful, were often divided by their own ambitions and the immense responsibility of ruling in the Emperor's name. Throughout the Imperium, the Emperor's ascension was mythologized and sanctified. He became a godlike figure in the state religion, the cult of the Emperor, which preached his divinity and his eternal watch over humanity. Pilgrims from across the galaxy traveled to Terra to gaze upon the Golden Throne, seeking blessings and affirming their faith in the God Emperor. Yet, for all the divine reverence, the Emperor's eternal internment was a symbol of the Imperium's fragility. It was a constant reminder of the sacrifices made during the Horus Heresy and the ongoing sacrifices required to maintain the stability of the realm. The Golden Throne, while a beacon of hope, was also a throne of sorrows, a testament to the eternal vigilance and burden the Emperor bore for the sake of his Imperium. This chapter in the saga of the Emperor and his Imperium captures the tragic transformation of a ruler into a relic, a being of immense power reduced to an icon of worship and a cornerstone of imperial stability. His ascension to the Golden Throne was both a salvation and a curse, a promise of protection and a perpetual reminder of the cost of that safety. In the eerie silence left by the Emperor's ascension to the Golden Throne, the Imperium of Man found itself navigating a dark, new era. With their once omnipotent ruler, now a silent, immobile god, locked within the Golden Throne, the burden of governance fell heavily upon the High Lords of Terra. This council, meant to act as the Emperor's voice, often found itself mired in political intrigue and power struggles, reflecting the Emperor's absence in more than just leadership. Across the vast expanse of the Imperium, planets and systems faced the grim reality of a galaxy still teeming with threats. Alien races pressed at the borders, heresies flourished in the shadows, and the ever-present threat of chaos loomed large. The Imperium's response was a militarization on an unprecedented scale, a transformation into a regime where martial prowess and ruthless efficiency were valued above all. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, remained the Emperor's wrathful hand, executing campaigns against enemies with zealous fervor. Yet it was not just external threats that tested the Imperium. The very fabric of its society began to fray under the strain of perpetual war and the weight of its own dogma. The cult of the Emperor, which had risen to dominate religious thought across countless worlds, preached the sanctity of suffering and sacrifice, reinforcing the state's authority with spiritual fervor. Pilgrimages to Terra increased, as did the worship of the Emperor as a deity. His once secular and humanistic teachings transformed into doctrines of divine right and manifest destiny. The schism between the Emperor's vision and the current state of the Imperium grew ever wider. The Great Crusade's ideals of enlightenment and unification under scientific principles were overshadowed by a regime that often resorted to oppression and fear to maintain order. The vision of a united humanity, enlightened and ascendant, seemed a distant memory, replaced by a fortress mentality that saw threats in every shadow. As centuries turned into millennia, the Imperium's stagnation became more pronounced. Technological innovation slowed to a crawl, with the Mechanicus guarding its tech secrets zealously, often revering machines as relics rather than tools for advancement. The once vibrant spark of human curiosity and ambition was smothered under layers of ritual and superstition, the state's apparatus geared more towards preservation than progress. Despite these challenges, the Emperor's psychic presence continued to anchor the Imperium's identity. His will, communicated through rare but profound psychic manifestations, and the unyielding beam of the Astronomicon, guided humanity through its darkest hours. The Emperor, even in his silence, remained the linchpin of the Imperium's survival, a god in the machine whose very existence justified the ongoing sacrifices and hardships endured by his subjects. In this time of endless war and wavering hope, the Imperium clung to the Emperor's mythos as both a shield and a rallying cry. It was a dark mirror of his dream, a realm sustained by the belief in his eternal vigilance and the unbreakable will of its people, forever bound to the destiny he carved for them amidst the stars. The Imperium, in his absence, was a testament to the resilience of his legacy, yet a poignant reminder of the visionary leader they had lost to eternity. Amidst the unyielding structure and the grim realities of the post-heresy Imperium, whispers of the Emperor's potential rebirth began to circulate, igniting a flicker of hope in a civilization long accustomed to despair. These rumors were not based in mere wishful thinking, but stemmed from scattered prophetic visions and esoteric interpretations of ancient texts, suggesting that the Emperor's current state was not the end, but a transitional phase, a gestation period leading to something greater. The prophecy of the Star Child became particularly pervasive. This theory posited that the Emperor, much like the mythical Phoenix, was slowly regenerating through the psychic energies accumulated over millennia, and that he would one day be reborn or awaken with renewed vigor and purpose. This belief was especially popular among the fringe elements of the imperial cult and was considered heresy by the Orthodox ecclesiarchy, which maintained that the Emperor's current divine state was final and absolute. Debate and discussion about the Emperor's rebirth were often suppressed, but they nonetheless persisted in the shadows of imperial society. Secret societies and cults, such as the mysterious Illuminati and the enigmatic Sensei, believed themselves to be the custodians of the true fate of the Emperor. They claimed that the Emperor's rebirth would herald a new golden age for humanity, one that would cleanse the galaxy of chaos and restore the Imperium to its former glory. These groups often pointed to the increasing instability of the Golden Throne and the escalating demands of the psychic choir needed to sustain the Emperor's life force, as signs that the current state of affairs could not last. They argued that just as the Emperor had planned every step of the Great Crusade, so too had he foreseen his own apparent demise and laid plans for his resurgence. However, the Council of the High Lords of Terra viewed such beliefs with great suspicion and hostility, seeing them as threats to the established order. The Inquisition, ever vigilant against the taint of heresy, took particular interest in stamping out these rumors, often with brutal efficiency. Yet the idea of the Emperor's rebirth refused to die, a testament to the enduring need for hope among the Emperor's subjects. Meanwhile, on Terra and throughout the Imperium, preparations began for an event known as the Reawakening. Predicted by a series of cryptic visions from various sanctioned psychers, this event was said to coincide with a rare celestial alignment and the appearance of a new star in the heavens, prophesied to either signal the rebirth of the Emperor or the final fall of the Imperium. As the predicted date drew near, the Imperium found itself on edge. Some prepared for celebration, others for apocalypse, and still others for a revolution. Across the galaxy, forces mobilized, alliances shifted, and the eyes of friend and foe alike turned toward Terra, awaiting the fulfillment of prophecy and the fate that it would herald for the galaxy. Thus, the chapter of rumors and prophecies added a complex layer to the tapestry of the Imperium's history, intertwining fear, hope, and the unshakable faith in the Emperor's eternal guardianship. Whether these rumors would lead to renewal or ruin, the Imperium watched and waited, its future as uncertain as the stars themselves. Thank you for watching this episode of Imperium Archive. By exploring the history of the Emperor of Mankind and his immense impact on the Imperium, we hope you have gained a deeper understanding of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Whether it is his unparalleled power or his endless sacrifices for humanity, the legend of the Emperor continues to inspire us all. If you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comments section. We look forward to engaging with you and discussing this vast universe together. Thank you again for your support. May the Emperor protect you. Let's continue our journey through the Warhammer 40,000 universe in the next episode. Stay tuned.